All right, good evening, ninth cohort. You're welcome to your first class on the course Politeracy and Governance 101. My name is Wumi Hassan Bello. I'm the head of Politeracy, and it's a pleasure to welcome you this evening. We'll give a few minutes for others to join in, and we'll start. As you join in, remember to write your name in the chat box for attendance purposes, and please mute your mics. Thank you all, and you're welcome once again. All right, it's 5 minutes after 5. We expect that everyone should be in class by now. Good evening once again. Like I introduced myself earlier, my name is Wumi Hassan Bello. I'm the head of Politeracy. It's a privilege to have you this evening. We're glad to have you this evening. So just some few announcements before we kick off the class for today. I'm sure a lot of information has been passed on the Telegram group. Please do well to read up on them. They are very, very important, so you don't miss any relevant info. But just to reiterate, when you join the Zoom meeting, please mute your mics. During the question and answer segment, you'll be allowed to unmute and ask your questions. But so we can have a smooth class, please, your mics should be muted. And also write down your name in the chat box, your full names as you want them to appear on your certificate. Please write it down on the chat box for attendance purposes. And questions are usually taken at the end of the facilitator's lecture. We have lectures on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays by 5 p.m. Okay, and of course, for you to be eligible to receive a certificate at the end of the course, you have to have met up to 60% attendance and assignments. Assignments will be given every Wednesday by 12 noon. And also, please make sure that you attend classes. This course has been put together to enlighten Nigerians in the area of politeracy and governance. It's free, but it was not free. Putting it together was not free. It cost a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources, but we've decided to make it free. So please, let's not abuse the opportunity. Let's maximize the opportunity. Make sure you attend classes, make sure you do your assignments. To get the best of this cohort, we'll be dividing the class into smaller groups with group leaders. It's going to be an enriching experience. Make sure you participate fully. Make sure you participate fully to get the best out of this course. Okay, a Google Calendar will be shared later today or before the end of the weekend, so you could mark it on your calendar and you not forget. Maybe you're working, you're at the office, you're in school, wherever you are. Please make sure that the Google Calendar will help you remember. Yeah, it will serve as a reminder. And also at the end of the course, we have 3 awards that will be given out. We have the Kilani Ibiang Award for attendance. That's for the best associates in punctuality and attending classes. We have the Adekule Adelodun Award. That will be for the best overall students of the class. And then we also have the Ahmad Salihidro Award for the best associate in assignments. So these are the 3 special awards that will be given out at the end of the course based on your performance and based on how you're able to meet the requirements for the award. So I'm sure our executive director will tell you more about the course as he comes on stage. But before he does that, let me just read his profile. I'm sure a lot of us already know about him. Yes, you're going to have an awesome time. He's an amazing personality. Kunle Lawal is an entrepreneur, an idea generator, a politician, a TEDx speaker, and a patriot. He has a keen eye for opportunities based on his experience in politics, working with non-governmental organizations and the federal government. He's passionate about Nigeria and is what could be termed a detribalized Nigerian. He considers his boundaries to be limitless, and he is focused on changing the Nigerian narrative in political participation. And with this tenacity, he currently serves as the executive director of the Electoral College, Nigeria. He also was once an acting national publicity secretary of COA Party, and he was a senatorial candidate for the FCT in the 2019 elections. So with a warm welcome in the chat box, emojis, welcome. Let's welcome our Executive Director of the Electoral College Nigeria in person, virtually, Mr. Kunle Lawal. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And if the class exceeds about 100, we're streaming live on YouTube. Please drop the YouTube link for the Electoral College. Would expand the bandwidth of the class. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Electoral College. I'll give you a brief history of the Electoral College. So post 2019, after the elections, we found out that Nigerians might never vote in the right kind of people. And this is not because they don't want to or they don't want development for their country, but it's generally because you don't understand the way things work. Like you have to explain to them how the local government works, what the state House of Assembly does, what Senate does. And then we came together with a few friends and we decided to set up the electoral. Tenaciously, this is the 9th cohort. We've tried to readapt and recreate, special ways and make it more interactive for you to learn. And we've also put in quite a lot of strength into putting together facilitators who, of course, understand the basis and the basics of the way politics and governance work. One of the first things we've sworn we will not do is bring what caused the problem to help cure the problem. I hope you guys understand that without me saying anything. I must remind you that the Electoral College Nigeria is non-partisan and is also non-governmental. We spent a lot of time in doing a lot of things. The Electoral College is set up, has influence with a lot of things. We don't only look at political, like we always say, politeracy, which is political literacy. We do not look at it only from the sphere or prism of these classes. We have a theme, the Love for Country, which runs on October 1. We've also pushed forward the first senatorial debate virtually, which was Hello, I apologize for that. I don't know what exactly happened. Nigerian internet, so much we can do about it and so much we can't. So as I was saying, I think I was cut off at the part that I was saying we look at political literacy from different spheres. We have the Love for Country, which is something done October 1 by us, which hopes to inspire patriotism in Nigerians and also reduce the ethnic imbalance which we have in Nigeria. We also have conducted the first virtual debate at senatorial level, which was at the Lagos East by-elections. They call me the executive director, but I like to say I'm the chief. I serve the Electoral College dutifully, and I've done that for the 3 years in inception. So on behalf of the board, which of course takes decisions, raises funds, and does a lot of things, our partners, CGID, who of course are supporting the Electoral College in more everyday, of course, balance and stuff to try and get this class done. I'd also like to tell you the region, which is the working arm of students who have actually been amassed from 9 cohorts, top students who have, of course, I think Lisa was from 2nd cohort, Maureen, who you get to know, who drops admin up and down, is from 1st cohort. And you could be part of that too. This is 9 cohort, and we're introducing something quite different, which is, of course, separating into groups. But now we're making these groups interesting by calling them by the names of political parties. So you have 10 groups, about 40 people. Every group will have probably a party spokesman, a party chairman, a senatorial candidate, a House of Rep candidate, a presidential candidate, a gubernatorial candidate. Of course, I don't like woman leader. I feel that post should be scrapped. Just relevant posts which will give and, get you to a point so that, this classes could be interactive. For the first time, your assignments will not be individual this time. Your assignments would, of course, be broken from different parameters where within you do it as a group and present it. So Mark, instead of going across multiple assignments, noticing this class is large, we'll deal with assignments as we deem fit. Lisa is the head of Politeracy. And Lisa, please, hope you put the YouTube link and people will be able to put their attendances there live. We only record attendances that are put live, but I'll still post the recording of this class for people that just joined, post this class. So this is the first class in everything. You're going to actually learn differences between politics and governance. I'll try to give an expose on the general clear picture of what exactly you'll be doing. There are 26 modules in this class, I think, approximately. You'll be dealing with things that have to do with INEC, political parties and systems, the legislative, local government, councillors, the whole, like I like to call it, the whole 9 yards. So I'd like to welcome everybody again on behalf of the Electoral College, the board in which I serve, and the region which does the work for the Electoral College. It's a pleasure to invite you guys here and to have you guys being part of, becoming politically literate. So thank you, everyone. Lisa, could I have the slides for this class? Thank you, everyone. Yes, you are. I also need to say you're all intentionally muted because we noticed that before people get the hang of the class, there's always, noise, interference, and co. So everybody's permanently muted to the Q&A. So thank you very much, Lisa. So introduction to politeracy and governance. And the topic, my name again, Lawal, the Executive Director of the Electoral College, Nigeria. Lisa, please could I have the first slide? Thank you very much. So of course, the basic introduction, politeracy. Politeracy is actually coined from two words, which is politics and literacy. Now it involves the education of the electorate on governance systems and processes and what they need to know and demand of electoral officials. Now, political literacy, we've argued a lot on basis of general literacy in Nigeria. So we like to talk about the grassroots and we say, they are illiterate. I'll tell you that from surveys and from work done with the Electoral College and, of course, interventions within local governments and states, we found out that people in suburban areas actually are more politically illiterate to a bit than you have those in the remote areas. And this is the reason why. If you ask the average person to participate in electing someone who's from the suburban, their choices would most likely be based on whether they know them or not, to whether they consider them young or not, which are wrong parameters. I think I need to tell you that governance has generally government has no gender, no age, no ethnicity. If you're ready to look at governance from that perspective or that prism, then you're ready to start to understand what actually works. Now, most of the time, we also find people very guilty of talking about things or candidates talking about things they are not supposed to talk about. So I'll give you an example. The average person who's running for Senate is not proposing bills and presenting them to you. Instead, he's virtually talking about how he's probably going to provide you electricity or how he's going to provide you roads. Yes, they have executive oversight, as you will learn, on budgeting, but it doesn't mean the executive is what plans that, and they approve according to what they deem fit. But that whole will be explained entirely. We're just having a run through basically. So political literacy is what the Electoral College tries to sell. Now, political literacy is the basis of a democracy working. It's not necessarily whether everybody went to school. We should understand local government is the closest handshake of democracy to the people, which is the basis for any direction. And then the word or councillors, let me go to councillors. We are in Nigeria, we have approximately, I think, 1,126 wards in Nigeria. Someone is saying my voice is not so clear. I'd like to get whether that is the situation for everyone. So maybe you could just type in chat box. I'll see it. Am I clear? Am I audible?
You are AD.
Okay.
She's probably wondering, are you talking about the speed, Aisha? Maybe your speed is a bit fast, but you're very clear.
Yeah, very sorry. I'm very sorry if I'm talking fast. So I'm talking too fast. I'm very sorry about that. I'll slow it down a bit. I'm sorry. I'll turn it down a bit. So like I was saying, we need to understand clearly. I'll post a recording. Maybe you'll be able to slow it down. I apologize for that. So we need to be able to understand that in politics in Nigeria, what matters is we need to understand the way things work. As I was saying, we have 8,126 wards in Nigeria, which means we have 8,126 councillors. Now, what even the councillors in Nigeria do not know, as we are finding out and as we're moving along, is that the Nigerians that are politically illiterate are not only the electorate, even those in office barely know what they are supposed to do. Lisa, I hope you've dropped the YouTube link for on the Telegram so that other people can access this particular class as it's going on.
Yes, it was dropped a while back.
Okay then. So you have councillors who are supposed to function like the National Assembly of the local government. Now they always remember to elect one speaker. The question is whether they're actually debating ideas that are necessary for the local government. I could also tell you that averagely every local government in Nigeria earns at least 130 million naira in FAC allocation every month from the federal government. But this is me just dropping tidbits and just trying to make you get a little excited about what is to come in the future for you in this class. Could I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Next slide, Lisa. Thank you. No, that's not the next slide. You went 2 slides ahead, I think.
No, this is the next.
Wow, okay. So,
Yes.
so propagating politeracy, of course, will be the first, which is formal education. Now, formal education is, as maybe we are having right now, and I'll say, trying to tell you, okay, this is what local government does. There are 774 local governments. There are over 176,000 polling units in Nigeria. There are this number of constituencies. There are this number of state house of assembly. In total, we have so many. Nigeria has more than 1,500 ministries, departments, and agencies, which is actually a large chunk of government, which is actually taking a lot of the current expenditure, which is affecting our finances generally as a country. That's what formal education does. Now there's culture. Now, maybe you've graduated from this class and the way you understand, you become an associate, the way you live your life and the way you engage on social media will, of course, create a culture, which is actually, culture is defined as a way of life. And that way of life would help improve political literacy, depending on the kind of topics and how you defend topics that you're actually debating on, or the kind of thought processes you are having while in conversation. Now, this of course can be imbibed, but it will take some time for us to be able to sell politeracy by culture. I'll tell you some things which have become part of your political literacy, which have become part of your political literacy, which makes you think in a particular way, which isn't correct. So they tell you a minority party cannot win an election. Now that sounds interesting, but they've imbibed it into your culture. And then the same biggest parties are actually stealing ballot boxes, using thugs and buying votes. So that is necessarily not true. But we're even going to go into a course which is going to be myths and realities of politics, which would help expose such parameters. But that culture and the mindset has been built into you, and you don't know you're even responding. So I'd like to define power. Now, power, most people think is strength or whatever, but use of power is actually the exertion of influence. Now, like that, minority parties don't win elections. If someone exerting his influence because you think he has political power, it means he can exert his influence on you and make you think exactly what they want you to think. But don't worry, we'll go into that because it's within the psychology of politics, which is one of the modules you're going to do. If you've gone over it, we'll also reveal that. Now, another method of propagating political literacy would be political parties. Now, political parties have not done much in this regard because all they've tried to do is get people to say, vote for our party, join our party, vote for our candidate, but not necessarily educating the exact candidates and then or showing a track line of how things should be or where things should go. And at that point in time, you think that this is not as it's supposed to be. Now, we need to also understand, please, admins, nobody should record the class. We're already streaming it to YouTube. There's no need to record it. Thank you very much. So, of course, political parties are supposed to engage in all that, and that is not being done exactly. They are not providing the kind of political literacy and the kind of thought processes they're supposed to be selling or they're supposed to be putting forward for their members. So in the end, all you have their members vote for a party, or we're in this party, or we're arguing generally that this party makes sense or that party does not make sense. And then without basis or reason, more of this one is too old to run, this one is too sick to run, this one is from this part of the country, this one is from that part of the country, this one is this one is that, and that one is that. And then you end up in the end, there's no exact ideological direction to which these parties hold their debates or their arguments or to push forward their narratives. And I'd also like to go to the media. The media now is supposed to be key in propagating political literacy. But now the media, of course, superficially, whether we choose to get to them or not, the truth is that the media sometimes, people that didn't even come out of a particular primaries will be called candidates when they're invited to radio, TV, or the media. Next, you'd also see the media, propagating stuff and saying a Yoruba man is running for office in Edo State. Well, that doesn't matter. According to the Electoral Act or according to Nigeria's constitution, generally, nobody is limited from running anywhere in Nigeria. You can live anywhere, you can run anywhere. Well, the media is guilty of its own. Media is the fourth estate. There's also a course that you're going to be handling here, which is, of course, the fourth estate, which covers what the press does and a lot of other parameters. Another method of propagating political literacy, of course, be engagement between friends, and like you had close to social media, but now physically, or engaging communities and trying to get them to understand the way politics actually works. Now, a lot of people try to put time into these CSOs, different people also with the thought of running political office later tend to think that, of course, this could be a very viable medium of, sterilizing the people from thoughts which are not true and thoughts which are, of course, not practical preceding a particular election or thought process. And Lisa, could I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Lisa, are you there? Could I have the next slide, please? Lisa, could I have the next slide, please? Maureen, are you there? Okay, while we're waiting for the next slide from Lisa, who's, I don't know, she's probably, I think she's not online. She must be online because it's coming from her. So these methods are, of course, ways of propagating political literacy. And we look forward to that. So I think Lisa has a problem. I think she'll be back very soon. So we'll just kind of engage while.
Sorry, Edie, I think the network cut me off. Let me just get back to sharing. Sorry about that.
So, of course, political literacy is something which is, we think it's very viable and very needed for now in Nigeria. It's easy to think you're politically literate. It's also easy for you to assume that maybe generally you know a bit more than everybody knows. But as we go in depth into this particular course and we start engaging on different parameters, you'll find out there are a lot of key things which, of course, you might have missed, might not understand fully, or don't understand. Like one of the common things is people talking and saying the Constitution is bad. We're going to face the Nigerian Constitution's benefits and rights of citizens under the Constitution, and you're going to have to engage and begin to look at the picture of what the Constitution actually is. And I'm sure you'll find out that by the time we are done, that about the Constitution is not executed to about 40%. And then that is going to now set you on a real question that, do we really have those who are supposed to be in power? So we're back to governance. So I want to explain. You see, governance is the way and manner power is exercised in management of the country's human, material, and economic resources. Now that is governance. I need to make clear at this point that there are a lot of mistakes. We usually mistake politics and governance. Politics is not governance, and governance definitely is not politics, which is why anytime you see a party flag behind someone who is sitting down in a constitutionally provided position, yes, the party is the vehicle to election. Of course, it's not, governance is not party void. So in Nigeria, I'll give you an example. So let's say in the US or in other developed countries, if you're a sitting president and you want to run for office, if you're going to use the official jet for the president, it means that your campaign is going to pay for every time the president or a governor uses a jet that belongs to the state or to the country. And that's because you are using assets which are not supposed to be yours, putting you at a very strong advantage. But because you are sitting in office, you pay the state for it because you are using it for your campaign and not for, because it's bought for the state and not for you to efficiently move around with. We'll of course break these things down and of course go down into a lot of other things as we proceed within this course. Like I said, this is just an introduction. I'm just here having a discussion with you guys and we'll get to know each other. Lisa, could I have next slide, please? Thank you. I'm right. Well, now we go into the arms of governance. We have the legislative, which of course is charged with creating laws. Your next class is of course the legislative, so I can't flog this too much. This legislative is of course made up, so we start with the smallest unit of legislative, which is from the smallest, the local government, ward councillors. When you go up to State House of Assembly, you go up to Federal House of Rep, you go up to senators, who are the highest legislative office. These are people that are set out to make laws. The executive are to execute, plan and execute how governance works. Now you have appointed executive and of course elected executive. We'll go into all that when you do the course, the executive. The judiciary is there to interpret laws. Their job is primarily to interpret laws to help, safeguard democracy generally. We found a problem in Nigeria in which most people tend to interchange. Legislative tries to take on executive functions, the executive tries to take on legislative functions, and legislative and executive sit on the judiciary interpreting their own function. But that's another kettle of fish. When we get there, we'll cross that bridge. Could I have next slide, please? So how can we achieve good governance? One of them is, of course, proper representation. Now, the problem in Nigeria has always been the distance between the elected and those who are in the electorate. Naturally, it's very, very hard to reach someone in the elected office. You can't send him an email, you can't call him, you can't reach out to him. You don't know what he voted when it came to a matter in the House. You also can't tell how he directed himself in fighting for a bill or whether he put any bills forward. The question I often like to ask, what I'll ask it after the legislative is, I like to compare senators. And, do you always have a senator you think is a clown that probably has proposed more bills? And then you have a senator who probably speaking common sense and virtually didn't do anything. So what kind of representation are you achieving? Governors, how distant are they from their people? They normally have their governors in states like, let me not call it states. In some funny states, you have as much as 4,000 government aides, which is totally unnecessary, building the bulk on government expenditure. But we'll get to that in other classes. Decentralization is also necessary for good governance. You can't sit at the center and know what goes on in 774 local governments. You can't even know what goes on in 36 states. So we'll talk less of zoning down to 774 local government. So the more we decentralize. But the problem is when we talk of the word restructuring, every Nigerian has a different parameter for what restructuring is based on his own understanding. And most of all, his own selfish needs or ethnic bias. So our thoughts of restructuring are all different, but government cannot take weight of everything. Like I'll give you an example, the common discussion. The state police. Now, it makes sense when you talk about state police, but why it doesn't make sense is that you start everything from the foundation. So, of course, local government police will, of course, seem like a smarter idea, and then coming up to state police and then federal police. But in Nigeria, we like to take our own style of doing things and we start arguing about things. Anyway, that's not enough. There has to also be a level playing field across opposition parties, which indirectly would lead to the next one, which is the rule of law. That means everybody's supposed to be equal before the law. Before a country can move forward, everybody's supposed to be seen as equal before the law. Everybody's supposed to handle things according to the law. Once the president starts to take jurisdiction, like I'll give an example, like with the Twitter ban, if you notice, the federal government never came out and said they banned Twitter. They said they suspended it. And where they will get that right is following suspension of Twitter based on a threat to national unity or national security. The truth is that they don't have the power to ban it. The power to ban any freedom of expression online will be vested in the National Assembly. But Nigeria was also the one that pushed forward, I think in 2013 or 2014, on to the UN, that rights of an individual as guarded by the Constitution, as guaranteed by the Constitution, also are supposed to be applicable when it comes to online interactions. So it means your freedom of expression is guaranteed. And Nigeria was part of those that signed that charter, which is why the federal government never used the word ban, they used the word suspend. Anyway, we'll get to all that. Then planning. Most of the time, I'm sure while growing up, we've heard Vision 2010, so many things. I remember 2010 came and I was asking, oh, wow, the year is finally here and nothing has actually changed. No offense to governance, but, you can't, and Nigeria, we're used to pointing at only the president. Truth is, governors are as much as guilty of planning as the president has failed at planning, or subsequent presidents has failed from planning. Governors are just as guilty along the line. Local government chairmen can be held also responsible for poor planning. The legislative also can be held for poor planning. And all this in a nutshell helps bring down the thought process or the general process of good governance and how to achieve it. Thank you. Lisa, could I have next slide, please? So of course, to enhance governance, we will require participation. Now it's sad that Nigeria, I think last time we have 50% of the total registered voters participating in an election was 2015. In 2019, we dropped to about 32%. That's about 27 million or 28 million out of the, I think, 76 million total registered voters participating in an election. We are not members of political parties. And the fact we're not members of political parties, we scream about delegates and primaries. So what we have in Nigeria is what we'll term more of as a selection, because you're not part of those that select in the political parties. So they just represent to you Jacob, Elias, Yunusa, and Idris, and you don't have a choice of how they emerge, and you have to choose between all that. And that's how these things get across. And you have to make your choice democratically because of that. We also do not propose solution-oriented mechanisms. Most of the time, Nigeria takes a planning in from a process of a quick fix position. Okay, the dollar is falling, how do we fix it? We don't sit down and say, okay, how can we value the Naira to a point in 10 years that the Naira can at least compete internationally? We don't take such parameters. We just join up and just act. Okay, Naira is falling, what do we do? What do we do? Quick fix. So yeah, let's ban imports, let's ban this, let's ban that. Those are knee-jerk fixes which never actually alter or provide the kind of solutions which we expect in the country, or where we're exactly going to, what we intend to do. Next to be financially unattractive office. Now, because our offices are financially attractive, and this is not their salaries being high, it's their allowances that are actually high. Most people go into politics just to kind of like relax. Who wouldn't want it? You're in a position and you have furniture allowance of like 3 million a month. Newspaper allowance that's about 1 million a month. How many newspapers are you reading in 30 days? If I were you, if you were me, I'm sure you'd want to live that kind of life. So till our offices become financially unattractive, then the real people that want to participate in that election, or the real people that want to give back to the country will be part of it, we'll still have a problem. But this onus lies in the kind of people we elect into the National Assembly that can help reduce these costs or help break down these costs. We probably wouldn't see the light of day. Freedom of speech is very necessary for enhancing good governance. Now, I need everybody to understand this. We need to understand the basic concept of freedom of speech. People think freedom of speech is the ability to open your mouth and, anything that falls out of it because you're protected by freedom of speech. It means you can say anything. No, it doesn't mean that. Freedom of speech means you can, of course, fully interact as long as your speech does not infringe on the rights or the freedoms of others. And because we do not understand this limitation, you need to see what Nigerians do on social media. I don't need to tell you how that happens. Really go out of the way, say any kind of thing. And government too is guilty of it, lies to the people, does a lot of things. So in the end, you have a quagmire of people not totally being responsible or in line with each other. And that's what keeps going on. And this thing, I think somebody's complaining they can't see the screen. The PowerPoint, and you need to understand this, before classes, we always drop the Zoom link, the PowerPoint, and the lecturer and the topic being treated for Friday. So classes are Fridays, 5 p.m., Saturday, 5 p.m., and Sunday, 5 p.m. So if you're having a problem with the PowerPoint, it has been placed in class, I think about preceding 12 o'clock. So you guys need to, I know it's Telegram, but that's the only place we can keep you all in one place. So I think you need to be able to how would I put it, to go back to the class, check this information is put there because of you. We have people working tirelessly just to ensure that you're fully informed with what goes on in class. So please, just always go through it. I know this is the first class, so we're not holding you liable for anything. So just always go through this particular PowerPoint is given to you free by the Electoral College. It's been given to you, made available since 12. So you can always privately be looking at it while the class is going. So now, back off freedom of speech, we're going to understanding by the electorate of elected office, jurisdiction, and powers. Sorry, I think I said that fast. Understanding by the electorate of elected office, jurisdiction, and powers. Now, the electorate is guilty of a lot of things. We believe governors can sack the local government chairman, duly elected, not caretaker. We assume that. We assume a president can just come out shooting guns blazing and do anything he wants to do. No. We need to understand the parameters because we can't hold them accountable. You can't engage a system, which is something I always say. You can't engage a system you do not understand, which is why most of the time we spend our time discussing generally on social media and not going anywhere because we're emotionally responding to a situation and not logically responding to a situation. There's no emotion in politics, and we need to get that clear. Greatest strategists, best people that understand politics, there's no emotion. So thank you very much. Lisa, could I have the next slide, please?
That's your last slide, Edie.
You can move it to the last slide. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I'll share the thank you slide.
So I'd like to thank everyone for at least attending this class. We have 100% capacity. I will immediately move to increase the capacity of the class on Zoom exponentially because we're not sure whether you guys pick up to the call to handle this. So I'd like to thank everyone. The slides are thank you. The slides are available on the class. You can always go back to it. Now we have a tradition. If you have a question, all you need to do is raise your hands and one of the admin will mute you and you can ask your question. So thank you everyone for this class. It's a privilege to do this for the 9th time in the Electoral College. And we look forward. You don't raise your hand in the chat box, you raise your hand on the Zoom app. So thank you very much, everyone. Lisa, it's over to you. Thank you everyone for.
All right, thank you, Edie, for the brief but apt class. Thank you. I can see some hands up already. Adeyemi, Akin, Pelumi, Joshua. Please, you can go on and ask a question. I've asked you to unmute.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So my question is that he said he's going to divide the class into groups and the assignment is going to be given us will be answered by the group, not individually. So my question is that, what if some people are not actually responding to the something? Maybe they are not, how will I put it? They are not like, they are not participating. They are not participating. And how are we going to go about that if some are not participating in the group?
Yes, so some of you will be allowed to participate. Okay, my voice is wondering. So some of you will be allowed to alert the admin on this. Just proceed doing your work. They will be scored, like I said, assignments and all end up to your 60%, which determines whether you get a certificate from the college or not. So just do what needs to be done. Whoever is working together and trying to get things done, you of course will have a group leader who's part of the Electoral College who will be helping guide you guys, so that you're not totally in the black. But we look forward to having things done properly. I'm sure Lisa will be there to help. I'm on hand on every group too. I will not talk much, but I'll be there to help or assist when necessary. We also will be paying attention to what's going on in these groups. My deputy executive director too will be participating on that. She's even actually taking you tomorrow. So I think that should be the answer to it. Thank you.
Yes, please. All right. Aminu Adamu, you can ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Kunle. I want to thank the Electoral College for the opportunity given to us. That was a wonderful lecture, I must admit. The area I just want you to talk about again, which I clearly do not understand, was the method of propagating politeracy. And what in the third, in the last one, which is the engagement, how does the engagement really, what does the engagement really means when you talk about method of propagating politeracy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Aminu, for that question. So engagements will refer to physical interactions, like I stated earlier. So imagine you're with your friends and they're saying, the local government chairman is not performing because he doesn't have relevant funds. You cannot come out and say no. As of now, federal government pays, though the case, governors have taken the case to Supreme Court, but governments pay directly to the local government. And then the local government are also without immunity, which means they can be sued. So if they cannot explain what they do with their above 130 million per month to the local government, you can sue them and you can present those fact allocations and whatever, and your friends will finally understand the way the system works. So these are basic physical engagement, maybe at a relaxation spot, in places you could meet, at the office. These are the kind of engagement. And sometimes it could be you just deciding to educate a few people preceding an elections and gathering them together and saying this out. So having a political meeting within an association or whatever. So those are the kind of engagements I was referring to in propagating politeracy. I hope I'm clear with that.
All right. Thank you, Edie. We go on to Zumji Daniel. Please go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, Dr. Kunle Lawal. It's actually a pleasure hearing and listening to you again. The first time I listened to you was at the SPPG, and I just took a liking to you, and I'm so happy that you are you're doing something like this. My question is, you talked about enhancing governance, and it's when I was just hearing, it's like, are we just talking about the ideal, or we're talking about what's happening in Nigeria? Because when we're talking about a solution orientation mechanism, participation, freedom of speech, it's like we're talking about the ideal, but what we're really seeing in Nigeria, are these things really true? And don't you think that there's a need for restructuring? There's a need. How do we bring these things to bear? If we are talking about enhancing governance, is there really anything like this that works before we become enhancing? And if there isn't, then there's a need for restructuring. So what's your take about the way governance is being done, and what should be done in terms of restructuring? Because I feel that structuring before thinking of enhancing the governance we have. And
Thank you very much, Zumzi. And also thank you for having listened to me earlier and thinking me worthy, still deserve to be listened to. A lot of people like to think some situations are ideal in Nigeria and they're far-fetched from the reality. That's why Nigeria has remained where it is. I'll tell you, apart from our interventions, I would like to say we're also party to a lot of things, excuse me, a lot of things you've seen achieved in Nigeria. Who thought one day you'd be able to register online for a PVC? Who thought the Electoral College, the Electoral Act could be done in a way in which it has been done, which of course no more collation centers, so, information is sent from the PU directly to INEC headquarters. A lot of things can be done, so you say you're standing up to do it. So I don't understand when people say some things are ideological. There is nothing ideological in life, except you choose to see a challenge in which you don't want to directly face. As regards the question of restructuring, I'll explain something. Most of the things we clamor for to restructure are actually provided by the Constitution. We're going to go over it and you're going to see a lot of things which you're already clamoring for, which already exist. So even if we decided to rewrite a new Constitution, like I stated somewhere along the line, you'll find out that the Constitution is not implemented to about 40%. Now, if that is done and we have a new paper or a new written Constitution, what is to say that it's going to be implemented up to 20%? 94% of Nigeria's problem is based on poor implementation of anything that we're setting up or anything that we're trying to do. And therein lies the massive problem in which we're trying to avoid. So I don't like to comment on, and like I said, restructuring means a lot of things to different people. I really don't like to comment on the restructuring process or restructuring argument, because I'll give you an example. So we're talking about free schools at free schooling or free education at primary level and at secondary level, which is already provided by the Constitution. Primary school level education is vested in the hands of local governments. Secondary school education is vested in the hands of the state governments. This is not being done. This is not even cared to, and this is not adhered to. So do you understand the problems? I'll give you an example. And even talking about the word restructuring, INEC has created state offices, which is what you call restructured electoral commission. So within INEC, it's restructured. You have your state electoral commission that conducts, if I'm right, conducts your local government elections. Am I right or wrong? Daniel, am I right or wrong? I can't hear you. Anyway, the state electoral commissions do the local government elections. Out of 36 states, it's very rare to see even an opposition party clinching one particular position. So it lies the question, are we really ready for restructuring as we claim we are ready? Or are we actually practicing restructuring down to the system? I think what we've argued as restructuring is investing more power into local government chairmen, into state governors. So the argument of restructuring has always come from people that have supported state governments. So right now, the state governments have kidnapped every state legislature because a lot of state governors deserve to be impeached. They've kidnapped the local government also in their back pockets. They've kidnapped the judiciary of state governments, which are supposed to be independent of the government. So you get to ask yourself the question, who exactly is causing the problem? Is it the center or is it state governments? Take a look into the picture and you find out who is actually guilty. So that's my position for the structure. But as we go around class, maybe some other parts will come in. I don't want to flop too much on too much today. So thank you very much, Zumji Daniel, for that question.
All right, thank you, Edie. VC, please can you unmute and ask your question?
Good evening, everyone. Please, Mr. Lawal, I just want to ask what you mean by politics is governance and governance is not politics. Thank you.
What I meant was that politics is not governance and governance is not politics. So politics is only the route to public office through the Electoral Act. So anything that happens, joining a party, running the primaries, campaigning for election, holding your party flag, winning an election, that is politics. The moment you are sworn into that seat, sworn by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, governance begins. It's no more a party idea, a party ideology. Yes, you promised you would do some things, but you must remember you are a representative of all. You must deal with things from a whole. Sorry, I apologize for that. I don't know what happened. So, like I was saying, you must deal with things from a holistic perspective. You must deal with things from a direct delivery of your functions of office to the people. And we've mixed up politics and governance. Like I'll give you an example. We have an incubator, a transition into power, and the serving minister is a spokesman for a candidate. That's mixing politics and governance. That's wrong. That's not even supposed to happen. So governance is the target. It's not an extension, Charles. It is the target of politics. It is not an extension. It's the target. So just look at it that the target is governance. The arrow is politics. The moment the arrow hits the board, it's hit the board. So it's time for governance to act. Now that's the simplest way I could explain it. Thank you very much.
All right, VC, I hope that answered your question. Zoom user, your name is not showing, it's just showing Zoom user. Please, you can unmute and ask the question.
Okay. Good evening.
Hello, are you there?
Good evening,
Okay.
everyone. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My question is the method of propagation. The director mentioned on culture. I didn't really get culture as the method of propagating politeracy. I want you to throw more light on how culture can propagate politeracy.
Okay, you want me to throw more light on how culture can propagate politeracy? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So everything you know today about politics was taught to you. There are things that were not taught in school. There are things that were taught to you by, interactions growing up. I always stated that culture, I stated earlier, definition of culture is that culture is a way of life. So I'll give you an example. While growing up, you say, you learn the culture. If you don't have money, you can't run for office. Do you understand? We made that a culture in Nigeria. It's not necessarily true. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you there? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not necessarily true. So because you're running for office, you're running for office, you must have plenty money. Who told you that? A lot of people have broken that parameter and even won elections. So it's not true. But we built a culture that tells us that you need to have stolen money to be able to run for public office. Now that is culture affecting your mind process. But the same way it can build in a negative process, can you use it for a positive process? Another positive process will of course interact and tell you directly that no, this is not how this is supposed to function. You can build or instill in your children that corruption is bad. to Nigeria. I'll tell you a culture that we've also adopted, and it's a negative culture. The reason we don't hold people in political office accountable is because we're waiting for our own turn to eat our own. So I look at it like a buffet of corruption. You won't hold this person accountable because when you enter, you don't want anybody to hold you accountable. So keep quiet. Just chop what he wants to chop. When me enter, I'll do my own. Nobody will talk. And the next person is moving around. So those are cultures that we invite, which are actually naturally aren't what it's supposed to be. So we can transfer by culture also positive beliefs. You understand that no, this doesn't have to be. You don't need money to run for office. You can do a lot and start to build and show your governance traction, and people will give you this money. I know you want to say that this sounds ideological. It doesn't sound ideological. I'm living proof of that. But we'll get to that. We're not yet there. You understand? Let's not discuss that yet. So that's how culture can help influence or propagate politics. Thank you.
All right. Precious Onwacha, please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Kunle.
Good evening.
Good evening, the team.
Precious,
Electoral College.
Precious, before you speak, I'd like to say something. I think we've had Precious in every cohort. Am I right, Lisa?
At least I can remember a couple of them, yes.
Yes, we had the Precious in every cohort. So what's going on? Anyway, no offense. I'll just let note in that. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's okay. So I'm the Precious for this cohort, the ninth Precious. And I must say this without wasting anybody's time. I'm very excited, very, very. Maybe as we go on, I'll get to tell why. Very, very excited to be part of this. Kunle, God keep you. Okay, my questions quickly. One, you mentioned something very, very important, something that hits me, something that is dear to me, and that is the fact that governors have basically pocketed every apparatus of governance illegally, if you permit me to use that word, including the legislature. And my question is, apart from at the action level, apart from action now, political action or action at the higher governmental level, what can individuals do or groups, that are aware or at least want to do something? What can we begin to do to begin? We are looking at another electioneering season. Elections will come, go, and then we have to have governance. We have to have a society that runs well. So what can we begin to do? That's one. Two, sir, very quickly, I don't know if this is a proper time to ask this, but then beyond the classes and all the lectures we'll be having, which I already know will be packed just from this introductory, are there practical things also that are part of this program? Maybe teamwork projects we could carry on. I don't know how it's in my head, but then things we could do out on the ground, no matter how not so elaborate they may be. So I don't know if that's part of the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, of course, the Electoral College looks at this being a campaign season. I would say I've been hiding this a bit, but I'm thinking of attaching people to one or few campaigns, just to see the way things are. And then if you want to stick with it, stick with it. Just bring you reality. I don't want to base you too much on theory and disengagement. I'd love to show you guys in the field a little bit and get to see how things could be. But we're not there yet. And to answer your question, yes, of course, by the end of this class, you would understand what exactly to do. I don't want to flog it now, because the whole system, you need to understand the entire system for it. Because if I explain it now, it'll look like I'm just talking. So I need you to understand the system. Precious, hold on to that question. I will get to answer it one of these days. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I'll hold on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Precious. Abraham, please, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, I'm also excited to be on this platform. So quickly, sir, my question is, in the process of engaging Politeracy, is it in place for someone having studied who a leader should be and how the electorate should vote in a leader, maybe by observing some qualities of leadership? So engaging politeracy, can you also go to the extent of suggesting a political party or even a leader, perhaps maybe having studied the qualities in such kind of leader? So in engaging politeracy, can you also go to the extent of telling in person or a party that the electorate should vote for? Thank you.
Well, I'd first like to say this. We are non-partisan. We work in tandem with 18 political parties which exist in Nigeria. We wouldn't do that. We don't expect anybody also in delivering political literacy to say this person or nothing, because the basis of political literacy is opening someone's eyes to pick what's right from wrong. It's the choice in a democracy to everybody is individual. The problem with Nigeria is that we make collective decisions when it comes to governance when we're not even sure. So because someone somewhere says, I beg, this one are the right man, and him we go put. Everybody follows in a herd effect or a sheep mentality process. And in the end, you do not get the right kind of leader, because one person seems to make a decision for all the sheep that follow. Political literacy is just about exposing the mind to what actually is in governance, to what actually should be in politics. The decision making will be totally left to you. I don't think the Electoral College, myself, or anybody else would like to participate in trying to influence your decision. Over time, you hear me, maybe, I don't know what perfect word to use, maybe sub one or two candidates here or there. But trust me, it will be across board. I won't just sub on one direction. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Edie. Bawa, please, you can unmute and ask the question.
The question I want to ask is that electronically I was caught up. I was not hearing the lecture for some time before I pick up. I don't know whether on the slides, can I still get back to it? That is one. Two is that.
Yeah, I didn't get your question.
Well,
you said something about the slides. I didn't get it.
I said the first question is that when the lectures were delivering electronically, I was caught up. I was not listening. I think it's only the wordings that was going on my phone that I was following, and it was a bit fast.
I will drop the YouTube link for this class on the group. You can watch it again.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right.
And the slides on the Telegram group, Bawa.
All right. Then the second question is that when you are talking on governance, it comes to my mind that I think if we are talking about restructuring, because I have reflected my mind back on how Nigerians come up in terms of leadership. When you see back, you see the people that ruled, even the military. When you look at Gawans, Obasanjo, and the race, just at their youthful age. And in fact, they did very well compared to now. And then now, if we are talking of restructuring, I don't know, having to understand the difference between the politics and the governance from the class. I don't know whether, if we are told we youth, we are agitating for restructuring, are we to restructuring the politics aspect or the governance? Because I look at in the governance, once somebody on seat, you always want to see that the legislature and the judiciary should dance to his tune. And individuals, you cannot get it easily to go in and see that you can put an input or change anything. And there's people coming on seats. They must have been people that must have been in government in somewhere, whether in civil service or in the political positions, to have looted money. And they are the one ruling. So how this restructuring will be?
I think this question that you asked, it has a very long line to be achieved. I think at the end of this class, you have a clearer picture of how this could be achieved, or how we can use politeracy to be able to fight the systems on their own fronts. I would say the battle for Nigeria is expansive, but everybody starts somewhere. Like the people that started the Electoral College that you are enjoying today started a fight against the system, trying to improve the quality of the system. And they've dedicated they have no personal gain to this. It's all been about love for country. Of course, somewhere along the line, you would learn and maybe be able to deliver yours in your little space. Now, it's this little pockets of action that help improve the country. And so I think at the end of your class, you might see things differently. That's a guarantee.
All right. We hope so.
I look forward to that.
Thank you very
All right, thank you, Bawa. Ivy, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Kunle, this is Ivy Bubbles from Facebook.
Oh, I'm wondering why you're using Kung Fu Panda.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm great, thank you.
Good. I want to say thank you for what you're doing, because enlightenment of the system is one thing that we all lack. Even I myself, there are a lot of things about the way politics is done, the rules, the laws that I am not even very familiar with in Nigeria, even though sometimes before I get into conversations, I start Googling contents of the Nigerian Constitution to make sure that my arguments are well grounded in the law before I start running my mouth. But I want to say thank you to you and thank you to everybody that's participating today. And the only thing I want to point out is, you see, the presidential election is here and all of us are anxious because we don't know the value of the local government elections. The local government elections are more powerful, more grounded, more solid than any presidential election in the world. I live in America, and I know some of you will say, oh, what does she know? But you see, I'm an American citizen, but I'm a born Nigerian. But the privilege America has given me is I've been able to learn a lot about democracy. I know who my senator is. I know who my member of House of Rep is. I know who my mayor is. I know who my county representative is. And I know when my county meets once every quarter to debate. And what does my county debate on? They debate on where to spend money. Like sometimes, just like in Nigeria, forget what you read in Ebony magazine and all that. Sometimes we have drainage problems in my neighborhood. And my county, which you could call my local government, like Oshodi or Etiosa and stuff like that, my county might have $5 billion sitting in the bank, and they're going to have a meeting to decide, do we fix that drainage or do we patch it temporarily and then come back and fix it? So my appeal to all of you, attend meetings in your county. Go there, you would see it displayed on the board by law that the local government is meeting for this meeting or that meeting. Go and sit down there, hear what they're doing. Because we don't sit down there, then they make decisions with our money. And because we don't sit down there, we don't know the value of those local government positions. And then we wait, and then we start blaming Buhari, we start blaming Atiku, we blame Obasanjo. But if you look at the budget, money has already been transmitted down to the grassroots. It just wasn't spent in the right place. So I thank you all for joining Kunle. I thank Kunle for leading. And I pray that by God's grace, we will get the Nigeria that we are proud of and that we actually want. And irrespective of our cultural background, I don't know anybody who has boarded a plane with Fulani passport, Yoruba Afenifere passport, or IPOB passport. But until then, we remain solidly Nigerians. Thank you, Kunle.
Thank you very much, Bobo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being the coach. I was surprised that this Kung Fu Panda thing, you got it. I have to learn it. Anyway, we need to say something. And as much as we complain in Nigeria, what's most shocking is that every local government election, especially Lagos, whatever, it's less than. So Lagos has a voting population of close to about, I think, 16 million as of 2021 when it held its local government elections. Less than 600,000 people participated, which is less than 5%. This is not prevalent in Lagos alone. This is prevalent in states across Nigeria. Cross River, less than 7%. Kaduna, less than 10%. Jos, less than 6%. And Plateau State, sorry, less than 6%. And the list goes on and on and on. Even to meet 10% quota for the exact part that you're supposed to care about the most. I give you an example. No local government in Nigeria earns less than 130 million a month. A month, please mark it, in Nigeria from the federal government. Places like Etiosa go as high as 4 or 5 million. Abuja, places in Abuja, like give or take, I'm close to about 150 billion a year. It's crazy, and nobody seems to talk about it. What they call it? If anybody knows, not Kuje. I'm thinking of the last this thing, not Gwagwalada, but even Gwagwalada is more than 7 billion a year. So what are you talking about? What are you ready to do to ensure that this works? Anyway, I'll take the last and final question. I think that's from Theo John Phillips, right? At least could you unmute him so that we could have.
Please go ahead, John Phillips.
Can he unmute himself?
I've asked him to unmute.
Okay.
You sure he didn't walk away?
Thank you very much.
Hello, John Phillips, are you there?
He needs to unmute himself.
Yes, I've given him the permission to do that. He probably isn't available. Let's go with Michael. Michael Bolutife, please go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Mr. Kunle. Thank you very much for this expository session with you. And God bless you for all you do. I've been an ardent follower on Facebook, and I can confidently say I've learned a lot from you, from your updates and the rest. Now, my question is talking about how to achieve good governance. In one of the slides, I saw a bullet point there that mentioned
your art that mentioned. Michael, are you there? Or is it me that can't hear?
Hello, Michael. I think he probably went off.
Okay. Michael, thank you very much. Well, it seems we've come to the end of questions today. I'd like to thank everyone. Tomorrow your classes begin in earnest. I would say we are going to expand the Zoom capabilities of the present class to 300. I'll try and do that preceding tomorrow, before tomorrow's class at 5 p.m. So classes are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 5 p.m. Tomorrow's class is the legislative. Your list of groups should come out depending on your groups. There will be links to WhatsApp groups which you click. So you check your name. If you're on group 1, you'll see a link to group 1's WhatsApp group. You see a link to group 2's WhatsApp group. They are named according to political parties. So there are 10 political parties. I don't care if you dislike anyone or whatever. They are working within the system. We just need them like that to give it a face so that it's more realistic. I'm sure the average person in this class cannot name 10 political parties. So I look forward to your class tomorrow. On behalf of the Electoral College, the board, the working region, the head of Politeracy, me, my deputy executive director, Nella and Emewa, and everyone that attended today. Thank you very much. I'll post this class again on YouTube if you want to rewatch. Remember to follow us on our handles, which also helps boost with the information of classes because we use our handles check your telegrams from Friday to Saturday to Sunday. We're putting up a Google Calendar that will help facilitate everything. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you guys again. And I look forward to, I'll be taking more courses. So I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure from the college. Lisa.
Thank you so much, Edie. I can see some hands up. We're done with questions. Well, whatever issue you want to talk about, you can just drop in the chat box. Yes, just drop in the chat box. So yes, like Edie said, another class holds tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. Please let's be early to classes so we can, make good use of the time. Thank you, everyone. And if we do not have any questions anymore, I think we can call it an evening. Okay, someone is asking what's the duration of the classes. Okay, you mean the length of the course, right? Okay, you'll be rounding off first week of October, first week of November, sorry.
I think the class schedule is on the group. This information
yes.
So they
the information is on the Telegram group. Please go through. You see the courses, each class and the dates and everything. So please endeavor to always read the messages on the Telegram group, so you don't have to keep asking. Yeah. Sorry, Edie, you wanted to say something?
I said also as regards them asking how the groups will be and how everything will flow. I think everybody should just pay attention to the Telegram group. You are here with us for 9 weeks. Every information you need is on that. It's fully put there. You understand? Go through it, find out how things are. We'll post the group, post the links, post everything. Every question you can ask, we'll allow conversations today. Then we'll shut the group. It's because we do not want too much information, thereby blocking necessary information. So I think we'll start opening the group a little bit so that as you understand how things will be. How long would the Zoom classes be? And Samira, I would like to tell you that they are interesting classes. I think my class was not that interesting, but they're interesting classes that you would want to leave. Trust me, even if we put a 1 hour time limit, you will be the one screaming for an extension of time. We've seen this happen across time. So just be in a rush, just look forward to what we have to offer. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Friday. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow in class. Take care. Have a lovely day. Good evening, everyone.
Okay, just to answer Samira's question, the duration is supposed to be 5 to 7, but we usually don't even get to that time. Like you can see now, it's not even 6:30 yet. Yeah, but that's the duration. That's the standard duration, 5 to 7. Yeah, but the classes are very interesting, like Edie said, so you would even lose track of time. And if you're wanted to take you up on your challenge of mentioning 10 political parties, if you can just write that on the group, I guess, on the chat box. Yeah, we're about to call it an evening. I can still see a lot of questions. Okay, you know what? Like Edie said, the Telegram group will be open today, so we could just take the conversation over there. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending the first class, Introduction to Politeracy and Governance. It's going to be an awesome journey. I assure you. Just make sure you give your all to it. Be committed, and maximize the opportunity. So yes, this is why we call it an evening. So good evening, everyone, and thank God it's Friday. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend. See you tomorrow in class. Good night. Dukas, please. Dukas, please, are you there? Maureen.